What is up everyone, Barricade here and bringing you guys quick Gears of War lore episode. Today I'm actually going to be covering all the Gears of War comics from the very beginning all the way to the very last most recent comic book. Well, excluding Rise of Rom of course, because I already covered that. But yeah guys, just want to know I'm going to be covering the comic books now, similar to how exactly I did the Rise of Rom coverage. So if you guys like this video, please definitely hit that like button, subscribe, tell me what you guys think, and let's go ahead and get started with today's video. So today's very first chapter, the very first comic book ever in Gears of War, is simply called Hollow Part 1. Basically what's going on here is it's talking about morely about Jace. This comic's quite a bit about Jace, his past, and also his experiences as a child, and also while fighting the Locust as an adult. So basically what we see here at the very beginning, we see a flashback of Jace's past, simply showing when his family was killed by the Locust Horde. And the one thing I really liked about this particular part is we see him kind of reminisce and talk about how when he was a kid he would hear stories about the boogeyman, as they would call it, creatures that would come from the underground and that they stole children in the night. And we can see in this images right here, it's pretty true. It shows that the locust creatures would come out of the ground. If you even notice, the locust itself has this kind of unique different armor. It doesn't look like the locust armor we're used to seeing. So it's kind of crazy to know that these things were probably for a long time doing this and stealing the kids. The one thing that makes me think why they would steal children is, you know, like we found out in the Rise of Rom comics, is that the locusts are in fact evolved humans that were evolved from emulsion, you know, that would poison them and cause them to mutate, eventually becoming sires, which eventually would become locusts. So it makes me think maybe they would steal children and then you somehow do something to them to turn them to locusts. It's hard to say. That's morally a theory, so don't, you know, hold me to that, but you never know. If they really did steal children, it had to be for a reason, because why would they steal children and simply just killing them? But anyways, we go on here and we see that, you know, that they would supposedly say stuff about this, you know, just to scare kids, and that they weren't real, you know, the boogeymen weren't real and they couldn't hurt you. And then of course that wasn't true. You know, we see poor Jace here as a child, his family killed by the Locust Horde. He's having a little bit of a flashback in the middle of a battle while he's fighting some drones here. He runs out of Lancer ammo. He starts using his pistol and then actually drops his Lancer on the ground. The drone actually finds that same Lancer and almost kills him with it, but luckily, like a badass, Marcus Phoenix comes out of nowhere to save the day. So that's the thing that's pretty freaking awesome there. We had a little bit of an awesome moment there. Something quite unique there where we see Marcus using the chainsaw to push the Lancer into the Locust's jaw, breaking his teeth. And then we see Marcus just straight up lay the blade through the drone. So it's pretty awesome there. And then basically they go on to try to find more gears. That's pretty much their whole simple mission here, is to go about the area to try to find any type of gears, anyone that's still alive. And this comic actually takes place not too long after Gears of War 1. It's actually 2 months after the Lightless bombing that took place at the very end of the game. And now they're just basically looking for gears, trying to find people, and just kind of like a rescue mission, in other words. And we see that the only gear that they find, believe it or not, is Michael Barrick from the Rom Shadow DLC. The one thing that I will want to point out real quick here is that this comic book was made before the DLC. So even though story-wise Jace and Barrick should know each other and they should kind of like have a little bit of a like reuniting moment, they don't, because of the fact that at this time the comic book was made before the DLC. So technically when they made this comic they didn't know each other. So it's kind of weird how we get this awesome DLC that is canon to the storyline and they have really cool moments with one another, but then when they meet up later in the years when Jace is actually a gear, they almost act like they're just meeting for the first time. But we can throw that off because it's, you know, it's a comic book, so it's not really a big deal. But overall, they have a little bit of a moment there where Barrick is happy to see that Jace is a survivor, that he has an optimistic attitude regardless of the situation that he has to fight Locust at such a young age. After finding Barrick, they reach back to Control to let them know that Barrack is the only survivor. And when they find out, Control's even like, really, only one survivor? But it's the truth, and it's kind of sad. At this point in time, the squad simply consists of Marcus, Dom, Jace, Barrack, and a new character by the name of Gil, someone that we never saw in the games, but he's actually a good friend of Jace. They actually knew each other right at the very beginning of their training, so they, they're friends and they're pretty close to one another. They scout the area and they see that the area is fine. They build a camp and they just have the night out, just kind of talking, reminiscing. Actually, there's a funny part here where Dom actually references back to Gears of War 1 when they're riding the carts. And basically they're like telling Anya the turn. If you don't remember, it's like towards kind of like the middle-ish part of the Gears of War 1 campaign, where they're riding the carts and they're seeing just wretches and things like that coming at them, and Anya's controlling all of these carts that they're riding, and it's kind of like a roller coaster. If you remember, it's a pretty cool part in Gears 1, and Marcus and Dom are just kind of reminiscing about that. So it's kind of cool how they made that type of reference to the game series itself. And then the one thing that's really cool is that I'm going to point out later on is there's a part where Dom just basically says that it was a day in hell because they fought so many drones, so many wretches, things like that. And at the very end of that long track on that cart was boomers. And he basically just says it's a perfect day in hell. So that's one thing that's pretty kind of cool and metaphoric that Dom would say, and still have like a good optimistic attitude about it, even though he's been through a lot. And that's one of the reasons why I like Dom so much. So that's pretty cool how he said that. And then pretty much it just skips on to the next day here, where they go to they're coming back to the base and everything. They just want to get out of there, go back to the main base in Jacinto, but they get a distress signal. And they decide to check it out because, of course, their mission is to find survivors and gears that may, be running around in that area. So they go there thinking, everything's going to be okay. Turns out they find a beacon, that's something that hasn't really been used since the UIR days. If you don't recall, if you look really close there at that beacon, that is the very exact beacon that Outsider Kate wears in Gears of War 4. I made a video talking about it, so if you want to take a closer look about that, feel free to click the link in the description. I'll put a link in there so you can check it out. But basically, that's the same exact thing that Outsider Kate wears on her character, and all it is really is just simply a beacon that gives out a distress signal. The Locusts found it and actually used it as a way to trick Marcus and company to go there, and they shoot Gil. A huge battle ensues, and it looks like they're all screwed, but then they actually start winning the battle. But the one thing I really like here at the very end of the issue, right when everything looks like it's gonna be okay, Jay says something pretty damn interesting that I really liked. Is he goes, "I remembered the rest of Dom's story. This was one of those days from hell, and of course that meant we had boomers waiting for us at the end." So that part right there was pretty damn cool. I like how they, in the comic itself, they made a huge reference to a major part in the Gears of War campaign. And it's true, because in that part, at the very end of it, you have to fight a boomer, it shoots at you, and you're like, oh my god, I already fought all these enemies, now I have to fight a boomer. And they kind of use that as a metaphoric way to express a day in hell, because it's just simply a never-ending battle is what it feels like to them. And then at the very end, when they finally feel like things are safe, something big as a boomer has to attack. So overall, guys, just wanted to bring you guys this quick video, Gears of War lore chapter here, talking about Hollow Part 1. This is a very introduction of the very first comic book here. It's going to get better on, but I just wanted to make you guys this quick video for this first part. I'm going to be covering all the comic books, all of them, all the Hollows, all the parts from the second issues, etc., etc. So definitely stay tuned. Tell me what you guys think. If you guys like this video, please definitely hit that like button and subscribe, and let me know if you guys want me to keep covering the comics. I thought, why not? Since I covered the novels, I said, why not cover all the comics? But anyways, guys, thanks for watching, guys, and take it easy. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see my most recent Gears of War video, hit that link on the left. If you want to see any of my other content, hit that link on the right. Thanks for watching, guys.